Yeah.
And it's funny because like they'll expect me to speak Spanish, especially because my name is Lewis, and it's like, nope.
Luis. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
So
yeah, and it's kind of funny because I look at you in my head, and I'm like, well, yeah, I can see that because when you tan, I think you almost get as dark as I do when you're tanning. But I think the funny thing is about racism is it's super, super funny. Guys, if you wrap this all up in a pretty little bow, we all are the same kind of human. If you need a kidney and I need a kidney, we can swap those kidneys. Our hearts, if I die and I give my heart, if I was an organ donor, which I am not for a lot of reasons, and those are partly stereotypical racist things that I know in the medical field are true because I've experienced them. That's why I'm not an organ donor. But you can trade your organs out with anybody else who's human. And marking the onset of civilization, everybody came from the sub-Saharan plain, East Africa. So with that being said, in theory, we're all pretty much black. So we're just different shades of black. If you want to go out hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, but people who are not informed will tell you a whole different story about stuff that really doesn't exist. And that's what perpetuates, I believe, racism in America. Racism's roots in America run deep, originating from the transatlantic slave trade and reinforced by segregation, discriminatory laws, including Jim Crow practices back in the 50s, and enduring institutional biases. Despite the civil rights movement, modern data shows that racial inequities remain embedded in every facet of American life. I mean, yeah, you're speaking to the choir. I knew that already, but it's just funny because a lot of people don't really understand the onset of racism and what makes racism so prevalent today. When you tell children are born non-racist, of course. They don't know. All my friends when I was growing up were white. I mean, everybody I knew was a white kid, and I didn't really interact with black children until I was about 12 or 13, maybe 14 years old. So anything outside my house were white children. And none of them were ever mean or racist to me until I got to high school. And oh my God, the floodgates opened. and I know, Luigi, you don't really have any racist tropes like where they were like mean spirited or they use that advantage to denigrate you or do anything subversive towards you. But do you know anybody that you can say you were around that had some kind of racism that you could see like, oh, that was racist? Aside from myself, 'cause, I like to joke around, but
no, yeah, I understand. I was definitely discriminated against just because I was poor. Like I was definitely picked on quite a bit because
okay,
I was poor, more than anything else. I felt like, and no, I've witnessed quite a few, racist things go down. A lot of it
yeah,
was like, kind of like, like irony or not irony. I'm trying to think of like the karma, like instant karma.
oh
So like,
yeah, just
someone saying the N word, and the next thing you know, they're being body slammed. Like
yeah,
things like that.
yeah,
That's about it. Like just like because like I'm thinking like high school in the Marine Corps
yeah.
and the
In high school,
military,
man,
it
high school
really
people,
wasn't.
children are the worst. I remember in high school, I when I first learned that I was black and I was different, was around, I will say, elementary school. My teacher, now this is the stupidest thing ever. And I don't know why a teacher would do this, but we're all sitting there, all me and my white friends, we're watching that freaking Disney movie called Skip Titty Doo Dah, Skippity A, Lie on My, It's a Wonderful Day. I don't remember what it's called, but if you're out there and you've heard this before, let me know. You
It's
can
not Mary
email us.
Poppins, is it?
What's it called?
It's not Mary Poppins, is it?
It's not Mary Poppins. It had a black guy, an older black gentleman, skipping down this little field, singing this song. And then I said, and I had to be like 5. I mean, come on, how am I supposed to know? I said, oh my gosh, look, guys, it's the guy who created Disney. And what the fuck did I say that for? The teacher's like, black people didn't create
Song of the
Disney.
South.
Huh?
Song of the South.
Yeah. Oh, that's what the Song of the South. Look at the Song of the South. And oh my gosh, like I said, what did I say that for? She said black people did not create Disney. And she said he is just an actor. He doesn't own anything. And it broke my heart the way she said it because I felt like she went way past telling me a situation that was true to trying to hurt me with it, like trying to slap me with it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I thought.
Yeah,
And I
it
felt that
wasn't
way as
like
a
she
kid.
was trying to teach you. It was
No.
just she was more
No.
trying to insult you.
She was trying to put me in my place. Like I felt that way. Like I felt like I had done something wrong. And I told my mom, of course my mom got pissed off because she understood what the kid what the a woman was saying she was trying to be hurtful, like the black people couldn't own anything. And back then we didn't own much. I'm not gonna lie to you. Things have changed, with the advent of Jay-Z, Michael Jordan, Kobe, and all the big millionaire and billionaires, Oprah Winfrey. That's all new stuff. But back in the 80s, it was way different. Oprah was just starting out. She had already been fired a couple times. Michael Jordan was just starting out. He was just starting to put on some sneakers called Nikes. So back in the 80s, you didn't have much. And the people who were on top in the black community, we didn't know about them until way later, because nobody would teach you. You always saw white stereotypes on television. There were no leading roles for black people. There's no one who looked like me on TV. And if they were a servant, they were a maid, or they were a gang member. They were never in the leading role until like freaking Eddie Murphy did a couple of movies where he was the lead and all the cast were black. That was the first. And people were like, ooh, shit. And they wouldn't even bank on that movie because it's like, no one's going to be able to draw a black audience. Black people don't go to the movies. This is true. They had these things in the paper. So, so with all that being said, it's just one thing on top of another thing on top of another thing. And you just grew up thinking, yeah, I'm black and black is what I am. And that is the extent of it. I'm never going to be anything. I'm never going to go and rise above. You can't be president. You're black. You're a second class citizen forever. That's just what I grew up with. But in my life, my mom went to a segregated high school. So she got into a high school situation like when she was 6. So it's only one generation from the civil rights movement for me or so. So my mom is still alive. She tells me about this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I look at the freaking old films of colored water fountain here, colored bathroom there, colored's got to go through the back. My granddad was the number one car salesman in the state of Texas and Las Vegas, Nevada. And he still had to go through the back door to pick up his check. So if that tells you anything you need to know. So, but in our society, criminal justice, black offenders receive sentences that are on average 19% longer than those of white offenders for identical crimes. According to the U.S. Sentencing Commission, housing disparities, black home ownership sits at about 44%, compared to around 74% for white Americans, reflecting long-standing barriers in wealth accumulation and access to loans. Educational inequality. Schools in predominantly black communities receive about $23 billion less in funding per year than schools in predominantly white areas, as reported by the Ed Bill. And the wealth gap, the inequality with wealth gap. Households have 1/10 of the wealth of white households if you're in a black household, according to the Federal Reserve. So, with all that being said, if you're white passing, like I have a lot of people in my family that actually are white, and they're white passing. And I know you being Italian, you probably didn't know this, but a lot of presidents had wars against the Italians and would hang them just the same way they did the black people in front of big, huge places like insurance buildings and markets if they even looked at a white woman. Did you know that?
Oh no, yeah, no, I knew that.
Oh yeah, Teddy
Dark,
Roosevelt.
yeah,
Yeah,
dark history of America.
Teddy Roosevelt. He had I think it was 22 Italians hung. Not him personally, but in that era, around his presidency, 22 Italian Americans hung because they went into a whites only area, and they were hung for it. And there's countless others. So it's a shared experience with people who aren't seen
Irish too.
as white or Caucasian or westernized enough to where they could fit that bill. And I know you come into contact with a lot of people that you probably know that may have had this stuff go on. But what do you think is a fix for racism? Do you ever think that racism will truly ever be fixed in American culture?
It's hard to say because it really stems from education and like the ability to
Mm-hmm.
communicate. Some people just they don't want to be educated. They would rather hate instead of understand and talk. So
Yeah.
reaching those people kind of takes like drastic life changing events that are like thrusted upon them to find the value.
Yeah.